Hello everybody, this is Bug Out on another Bug Out adventure commentary. Here lately I ain't been able to really go out in the bush and practice a lot of my skills in the physical way, but what I have been doing is catching up on some reading and some skills knowledge. So when I do get out there again, which will be here in the next couple weeks, I'll be able to try and implement some of those new skills acquired in reality, But one thing that I really want to talk about right now, and it seems to be on every prepper's mind, and even those who are new to prepping, is the issues of an atomic attack. In our day and age, you would think that civilized human beings would know that destroying the planet we live on is not good for us. There's going to be some, that, have their multi-million-dollar fallout shelters, doomsday bunkers, things of that nature. Most of us are poor. We're living paycheck to paycheck, hand to mouth. Some of us, it's to the point that we're working and you're still having to receive some type of social services in order just to make ends meet. So we can't afford those $1 million bunkers, okay? So it got me to thinking after watching a couple of other content creators on YouTube as far as survivalism, prepping, and world events, that unless you have that underground bunker, it's going to get real hard for you. And I'm talking fully prepped, fully stocked for, 3 months to 3 or 4 years, that kind of scenario. Sustainable living, where you won't go, back beep crazy. But so I picked up this little book, and it's called How to Survive an Atomic Attack, a Cold War Manual. And it's got all the really cool old pictures in it, and it's not real big, it's kind of thin. And it goes over quite a few little fallout protections on what to know and do about a nuclear attack. Now, back in the day when our parents, let's say the baby boomers, were growing up, that was a very real thing for them. They used to have little drills where, the alarms would go off and all the little kids would get underneath their desk as if that's really going to help. That's not going to help. It's going to get blown away or vaporized if you're like right underneath the drop zone. Anyhow, there's words that you should know, educate yourself with. The A-bomb and H-bomb, popular terms for what should correctly be called nuclear weapons. An atomic or A-bomb explodes through the fission splitting of atomic nuclei. A hydrogen or H-bomb is called a thermonuclear weapon because tremendous heat is needed to start the fusion process. So there is a difference in some of these bombs that they're talking about, and these warheads and things like that. Okay, a kiloton. The power of nuclear weapons is measured in equivalents of the explosive energy of TNT, which I like to say sometimes is my attitude towards certain people. It's like TNT. But anyway, a 1 kiloton weapon has the explosive equivalent of 1,000 tons of TNT. That's just so you know what those kilotons stand for, It means destruction, pretty much is what it means. A megaton. the explosive equivalent of 1 million tons of TNT. A 5 megaton nuclear weapon exploded at or near ground level is assumed as a basis for descriptive explosive effects. There are much larger weapons which could do more damage, but the damage from larger weapons does not increase the indirect ratio to the size of the weapons. Just because the bomb is bigger doesn't mean it's going to do more. It can be a very small bomb and cause catastrophe. Ground zero, which means the surface point at or above which a nuclear weapon detonates. The or above which a nuclear weapon detonates is considered an EMP, okay? Fireball. The large, swiftly expanding sphere of hot gases producing brilliant light and intense heat. That is the first manifestation of a nuclear explosion. Do not look at it. It will blind you. It will fry your retinas and your corneas. It will fry them. You will be blind. After about a minute, of course, the fireball fades into the atmosphere. Now, I've always wondered when they say, don't look at the flash. You've got to see the flash in order not to look at it. You know, so how is it a millisecond that you turn and not look? Blast wave, or the shock wave, the near solid wall of air pressure produced by a nuclear explosion. Beginning at more than 2,000 miles per hour, its speed decreases rapidly with distance. Well, you're going to have your audio that you'll hear from the blast, and you'll have your physical that you feel from the blast. That is the shock wave. The blast wind, the wind gust which travels with the blast wave, and may be many times hurricane force. If you're anywhere near it, you're not going to make it, okay? It's just reality, okay? It's just something that, you know, you got to prep for, you got to plan for. I don't even think I'm going to say this right, so I'm going to try it. Roentgen. Roentgen, a unit for measuring an amount of radiation exposure. Initial radiation, the burst of gamma rays and neutrons sent out from the explosion during the first minute after detonation. Initial radiation is most deadly within about 2 miles of ground zero. So if you're living in a major city, and we're going to go, you know where the major cities are at. You want to try and find underground shelters that are pre-made, okay? A lot of these shelters from the nuclear era of the Cold War, they're still standing. They're still there. They've just been boarded up, okay? So you can go on to the internet, type in your state, and look for abandoned fallout shelters or city maps. You can even, go to your city and ask them, where are all the old bomb shelters at from the Cold War? Are they listed anymore? Things like that. You can get maps of all those kind of things. Most likely, they're going to look at you kind of strange, because I've gotten those looks before, and they're like, oh my, okay, yeah, for real, you better get on board. But anyway, a lot of buildings that were built during the Cold War era, up until the wall came down, and stuff, are in buildings from, say, the 1940s to the 1970s, and possibly even the 80s. Because if I do recall, that's when the wall came down and things started changing over there on the European front, as far as the USSR and things like that, and Germany, and that kind of thing. I'm not a real good historian, but some of my memory is obtainable still. Anyhow, these buildings are older buildings. They can be schools, banks, high rises, other civil defense areas can have them. And the thing is that they've closed a lot of these up with the supplies still intact. All you got to do is figure out where the entrance is. The entrance is usually going to look like a small door or something that's maybe not an entrance, but it could be. You got to think outside the box on these things. Locate these areas now, just in case you're in one of these big cities. Also, too, basements of buildings, of schools, of houses. Those are good places to be. You do not want to really be out in a situation like that unless you've got some type of real shelter. And if you are bugging out, you need to find a cave or something that you can get into that's surrounded by rock, granite, things like that, old mines. You got to be careful. So you're going to have to think about this kind of stuff. Don't go put yourself in a bunch of danger because you don't want to die trying to save yourself. Okay? This is something that you don't want to do. Okay. So, fallout, the radioactive debris of a nuclear explosion which eventually falls to Earth in particles. The amount of fallout is enormously greater if a weapon detonates on or near the surface than if it explodes high in the air. Which again, when they explode in the air, they're EMPs. They wipe out all electronics. Everything's fried that's got a wire. Okay? That's the easy way to put that. Large amounts of Earth are drawn up by the fireball. High in the sky, radioactive elements are incorporated into the Earth's particles, which are scattered by winds and in time fall to the ground. This is where you get your acid rain. This is where you get all that little debris and stuff coming down, that radioactive stuff that's going to eat you from the inside out. Fallout radiation. The radiation emitted by fallout particles. Each particle of fallout gives off radiation as though it were a miniature X-ray machine. This radiation consists chiefly of beta rays, dangerous only if fallout particles touch the skin or are swallowed or inhaled, and gamma rays. Gamma rays, like X-rays, are very penetrating and create the need for protective shields, fallout shelters. Okay? Don't panic. Take a deep breath. We're educating ourselves on what all this lingo is, okay? We're going to continue to prep just like we prep for anything else, but we are becoming aware and awakened to, if something like this is to occur, we're going to be on our own. And really, in all justification of that statement, we're on our own now, okay? Unless there's a string with a carrot and a stick all connected together and you follow and you do what you're told to do, you might get some help. But it's only going to be the help that is perceived that you need, okay? Just a little side note there. Early fallout. The fallout that returns to Earth during the first day. All right, now, mostly that's what we're going to deal with is that first day. The radioactivity of such fallout decreases rather rapidly at first and more slowly over time passes. You're going to get your boom, then you're going to get your stuff coming down. Then a couple days is going to pass and it's going to be going down the road. Okay, and it's going to hit them. It's going to fall on all these other people. Okay? Once that starts to occur, short of having a Geiger counter and full hazmat and radioactive material, suits and decontamination site and, everything that's entailed, which is a whole different story. None of us can afford that. Some people might be able to venture out. Very doubtful, though. People are going to be scared crapless or beepless. Okay. All right. So, This has some more on it as far as evacuation versus shelter. Let's look at this. Two conditions make pre-attack evacuation of less general value as a protective measure for nuclear attack than it appeared to be a few years ago. Now, granted, this book was written first. Let's see. It's showing 2014 on this, but a lot of it comes from tried and true measures that, of course, they showed us worked. Okay, so let's use it to our advantage. All right. The danger of radioactive fallout to unsheltered evacuees and the decrease in the probable attack warning time if an enemy should attack with high-speed missiles. However, the problem of mass movement of people in the event of nuclear attack is still significant one because plans must be made to get people into shelters rather rapidly. Also, it may be necessary to move people out of severely damaged areas after the attack. They're telling you to prepare in this little paragraph. This paragraph is the government's not going to be able to move everybody within 30 minutes of an imminent nuclear attack. We've got 30 minutes to get to where we're going and do what we need to do when they push that red button. Okay? That's it. And they'll know, and the little emergency broadcast system will go off. Hopefully your phones will go off if they haven't, messed with the internet. Because everybody usually gets their notifications now on their phones. No longer do, like landlines, people get notifications through landlines. Nobody really watches basic television anymore. They're always streaming. So you want to make sure that you do have some notifications on. All right. So anyway, this little book has quite a bit of information in it. Okay, now you can get all of it online, all right? But I like to do things kind of like the old school way where you actually pick up a book and read it. My suggestion is too that, if you have the extra cash on hand and you're able to pick you up one of these books on how to survive a nuclear attack or an atomic war. It makes for a good read, first of all. It opens your eyes to several situations that you may not thought of. And two, there's nothing like being prepared, because as a prepper, we were prepared for just about everything. Now, my whole thing was I wanted to prep for the zombie apocalypse. Hold on a minute. I gotta drink me some milk. But in doing so, I inadvertently prepped for a whole lot of other things too. Not, just didn't realize it. One thing that I do know, sort of having the cash and the money to support an underground bunker and that lifestyle that you'd need for a year or 2 or 3, however long it might take to live comfortably and walk out like in a movie. None of us have that. My last name ain't Gates. But it makes for a good read, like I said. And if for some reason you are stuck in a basement or somewhere, that you'll have something to read, something to... Not everybody finds reading How to Survive an Atomic Attack as a good read, but I tell you, I'm always prepping in one way or another. And reading and learning and implementing these skills is part of prepping. Food is important, don't get me wrong. Water is important, do not get me wrong on any of that. But there's other ways that you can prep. There's no need to feel hopeless or helpless. There's always hope. Always. Because if one thing that we know for sure is that, and I know this for sure, the Lord is always going to guide me and show me the way, as long as I walk by faith and not by sight. So, continue to prep. Count your blessings. No matter how bad it may seem here in the United States, we are still blessed. So this is Bug Out with another Bug Out adventure commentary. Keep on prepping, people. I love ya. I appreciate ya. And I'll see ya in a few. Ciao, baby.